Beans, they're good for your heart, and the more you eat them, well, you know the rest. Today we're going to be planting some beans, some pole beans and some bush beans. If this is your first time on our channel, welcome. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below and that bell button so you get notified every time we come out with a new video. And if you're a frequent viewer of the channel, it's always good to have you back. Now, I usually grow me a row or two of pole beans every spring, and I usually grow some in fall. But it's been quite a few years since I've grown any bush beans. And now we love bush beans. We especially like to can them or put them in jars. That way we can have them whenever we want them, regardless of the season. I just haven't grown any in a while. You know, last time we grew some, we grew a lot. We put up a lot, and we had them for a while. But it's kind of time to restock our pantry with canned bush beans. And that's one of my goals this spring, is to do that. So this spring we're going to be doing some succession bean planting in this plot right here in the Dream Garden. This was our carrot plot for the fall and winter. Still kind of is our carrot plot. So we had carrots and beets in this area right here that's been cultivated. We've already harvested all the carrots and beets there. We've still got more carrots to harvest here. We've been averaging pulling about a row a week for us to eat and to put in our weekly vegetable bags. And so as I pull up more carrots, I'll cultivate another piece here, put some compost down, and plant some more beans. And we'll just kind of stagger plant them as the spring moves into summer. With beans, the more you pick them, you know, especially after you've picked them that second or third time, it kind of wears out those plants a little bit. You might see some decline in production after a little while. So that's why we're going to succession plant them, so we'll have repeat harvests for a good bit on into summer. So in this half of the plot right here, where we had harvested those carrots and beans, we came in here and kind of tilled and chopped up all those carrot tops that I kind of chop and drop as I'm harvesting the carrots. Then we came in here with some of that good old black gold that I showed you on the last video, and we put a good bit of it down here, tilled it in the soil, make this soil a lot nicer than it was. Then we had to put back down our drip tape, and I did a different spacing than what I had with my carrots. So my carrots were on 3 foot. I wanted these beans to be on 4 foot. We're going to plant double rows with the exception of the pole beans, so I need to give them a little more space. So I recycled some drip lines, took my double wheel hoe in here, made a furrow, and then moved those drip lines from another plot, put them down in the furrow here, and then all we had to do was turn the water on, make sure we didn't have any leaks. And then we took our high arch wheel hoe and covered up that drip tape, and now we're ready to plant. So we're going to be planting 1 row of Kentucky blue pole beans, and then 2 double rows of momentum bush beans, and then 1 double row of these royal burgundy purple bush beans. Now I'm going to plant the pole beans by hand, just because I'm doing a single row of those underneath my trellis. And then for the bush beans that we're doing in double rows, we're going to use our garden seeder for that. You might have noticed here that I already got my trellis installed. So I went ahead and put that up because I want to plant these bean seeds kind of right underneath that trellis. Now, for years we used them old cattle panel trellises, and I still got several of them back there leaning up against that barn you see. But man, those things are a little bit of a job for one person to install. And I just like this Hortonova trellis. This mesh netting here, it holds really well. It's easy to install. I can put this thing up in, you know, less than 10 minutes. And it's just a lot easier on me when I'm done with it. I can just roll it up, throw it away. I don't have to worry about, you know, cleaning all the vines off of it like I do that cattle panel trellis. So I have done away with the cattle panel trellises, and this is pretty much all I use. And I had a 328 foot roll of this stuff. This stuff's 5 foot tall, and you just cut it to length, whatever you want. It's easy to cut with a pair of snips. We just cut it to length, and then we take zip ties and we get it real tight along those T-posts there. Now, a lot of people have asked, well, how many T-posts or how far apart T-posts do you use with this Hortanova? I've done them as far apart as 10 feet. This row here is 30 foot long. I ended up putting 4 T-posts here. I didn't really measure it, just kind of eyeballed it to get them equally spaced. But we got it nice and tight, and it's good and tall, and that'll make a good little climbing structure for these pole beans. Now, the way I'm going to do this is kind of like we used to do when I was a kid, when I remember gardening with Mom and Daddy. And what Daddy would do is he would go along the row there and he would poke a hole with the end of the rake where he wanted the seed to go, because adults was a lot better at figuring out how far apart the seeds need to go than the kids were. So he'd poke a hole along the row ever so many inches where he wanted us to put a seed, and then us kids would come back, drop a seed in that hole, and then he'd come back behind and cover it up. So I'm going to use these rungs on this trellis here as an indicator of where to put my holes. So these things are 6-inch squares here. They're 6 inches apart. So I'm going to just put a hole underneath every one of these with my rake, and then we'll just drop a seed in that hole, and then we'll come back and cover it up. Also, when we were kids, we used to always be told to put 2 seeds per hole, because we just got our seed from the local feed and seed store, and sometimes you don't know what you're getting there. So that was a way of making sure we got a good stand. You can put 2 seeds per hole, nothing wrong with that. Come back and thin them. I just put 1 in each hole here. If I accidentally drop more than 1, not a big deal. I just leave it there. We'll come back and thin it later. So our pole beans are in. Now let's go to the barn and configure us a seed plate to plant these bush beans on double rows with our garden seeder. So I got 2 varieties of bush beans here. I've got this royal burgundy bean, this purple bush bean. You can see the seeds there. And I've got this momentum bush bean right here, a pound of those. Now this is our number 6 seed plate, our stock seed plate for the garden seeder. And this one will work for some beans. It won't work for all beans, and we're probably going to see that here in a minute. So let's look at this and see if these seeds fit. The first thing with beans you want to check is you want that seed to be able to lay flat in that hole. Not like that, but lay flat in that hole without touching the sides. You can see these seeds right here are a little too big, especially if we look at like this one here, or this one here. They're a little too big for that hole because they won't sit in there flat and not touch the sides. So we need to make these holes smaller. Some of your smaller bean varieties would work perfect. Some of these bigger ones, we need to drill out those holes. The other thing here is the spacing. So the way our seeder works, in 1 revolution of this plate inside the hopper, the seeder travels 19 inches. So 19 divided by 4 here would give you a little under a 5-inch spacing. I like to plant mine a little thicker than that. So I need a plate with bigger holes and with a few more holes. So I found this plate in my stash of plates. I don't remember what I made this plate for, but I was looking at it and I was thinking this one might work a little better. This has the spacing I want, so this is going to give me closer to a 3-inch spacing. And I like to plant them thick. If I have to thin them, I will, but I like to plant them thick to get a good stand. We can check the hole size on these here. We can see that hole is still not big enough for that plate to lay flat. So what we need to do is just make those holes larger. We can do that with this little bit right here called a step drill bit. You can get these things anywhere. They work really good for drilling out these seed plates. So we're just going to kind of incrementally make these holes larger until our biggest bean seeds will lay flat in those holes, and that means everything will flow properly when we put it in the garden seeder. Okay, we made a little mess there, but we can take a look now and see if they're big enough That one's almost there. Still touching the sides a little bit. So I'm gonna make them a hair bit bigger this time. Try to get them all relatively equal size here. And sometimes I like to drill out the back of them too, just to make it even. All right, let's check this now. Let's see. These seeds will lay flat in there. That one does. That one does. That one there does. So that should work right there. Big enough to hold those biggest bean seeds we got. And the good thing about these seed plates is you can do it however you want it. You can make those holes as big as you want. You can make the spacing whatever you want. These things are easy to drill and customize, and we intentionally done it that way because everybody likes to do things a little different, and this allows you to do it however you like. All right, so we're gonna put our seed plate in there, a little spacer cone, and our brush. Then our wing nut here. And we don't want to tighten that down too much, just barely there. Got my depth gauge here set at about between 3/4 to 1 inch deep, which is how deep I want to plant these guys. We're gonna pour some seed in here. I don't like to fill this thing up all the way on the first run. I make sure everything's working right with it. So I just like to fill it up about there. I can always stop at the end of the row and put more in there if I need to. On our row here, we've got our drip tape buried right here, and then that high arch made those little mini furrows right there. So that's where we're gonna plant. I'm just gonna kind of run the wheel down along here, plant on both sides. So a double row, that way we can get 2 rows of crop per 1 row of drip tape, or 2 times the vegetables for the same amount of space. So we did have to refill it one time. This is what we got left here. So we need to dump these out and then put our Royal Burgundy beans in here. We just grab this whole unit here. Take our bag. Dump them back in the bag. We can put that back on there. Just like that. And then we can get these Royal Burgundy beans in the hopper, so we can plant those as well. All right, all right, all right. And we got them planted just like that. Now I've grown quite a few different bush bean varieties over the years. Contender, Provider's another good one. But I do seem to remember that this Momentum variety was a really, really good producer for me when we grew it, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago. So really happy about growing that one again. This Royal Burgundy I've never grown before, but purple bush beans, can't go wrong with that, right? So really excited about trying those and eating some of those fresh. May even eat some raw. So tell me in the comments below what your favorite bush bean or pole bean variety is. Do you have one you like just for fresh eating and then one you like for canning, or you found one that really works well for both? Let me know down below. I'd be interested to hear what your favorite is. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button below and give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video. And if you did enjoy it, I think you'll really like these two here. We'll see you next time.